Yeah.
So, hello everyone. I'm here with Meghan LeVota, and she is a YouTuber and Jungian typologist thought leader. She has a typing service and a mentorship service, and she's a really cool human being. So, hi Meghan.
Thanks so much for having me, Joyce. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you as well. So, what are your experiences like as an FE Dom?
Oh, wow. So, as an FE Dom, I would say, So, well, I'll say that my default when you ask me that is that I want to talk about how it feels to be an FE Dom, which is kind of meta, because I guess I can tell you what the facts of my life are. I could tell you what I think about that, but my instinct is to tell you that it feels kind of overwhelming because sometimes I don't know, like, especially when I was growing up, like, boundaries have been a hard thing because it's natural for me to take other people's emotions as a part of myself when it comes to solving problems, for example. Like, to me, love is defined by taking another person as part of yourself. So, like, you, Joyce, for example, like, you have a YouTube channel. I'm taking your needs as a part of myself. I want you to succeed. If I have that sort of empathy, then it's like, I want you, if you want to succeed, I want you to succeed. You know, it's like I'm taking that. But when I was younger, if I would feel that someone else wanted something, then that's very powerful.
That's so cool. I love how.
And so sometimes you need to cut that away. So it could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. You know? Sorry, I got too emotional.
Oh no, that's amazing. It's amazing how like FE takes on your needs as important as its own needs. So in a sense, you're always aware of that win-win between you both because you're aware of the situation of their situation and yours, and you're like, how can I create the best outcome because I'm truly considering their humanity as well as my own.
Yes. And so, like, for example, like, let's say I'm like, okay, I want Joyce's YouTube channel to succeed. Like, I don't have, like, I'm taking my needs and then I'm also taking your needs. And then it's like the TI is like, what's the solution for both of our needs? You know? It doesn't have to be a contest. It doesn't have to, like, I don't understand that thinking at all when it comes to, like, content. Like, there's like all these divisions and fragments that happen between people that I don't understand because it's like, why? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, why? Because it's like, it's so easily you can build a bridge, and like FE understands how everyone is interdependent. And it's like, if you succeed, you can bring someone else up with you. And it accounts for like the spectrum of human emotions and how you can bring that all up. Because you don't have to sacrifice one spectrum for one to succeed most of the time.
Yeah, and I would say too that as an ENFJ, since my NI is my second function, that when I was younger, before my NI was developed, and it was harder for me to introspect. And so I would just take everyone else's emotions as a given. And I wouldn't know the difference between my emotions and theirs at times. But then, like, developing NI can help me be more in tune with my inner wisdom and who I am, so that I can use that to sort of look at all of the emotions more deeply. But yeah, at its worst, it could feel like for example, okay, so me and my ENFJ friend are doing a digital marketing business, and I can just tell, and I felt this at the back of my brain for like 3 days, that there's this guy that really is waiting on an email, and he's really frustrated with me. And that's just evident to me. That's like self-evident to me. And it's like, how do I make a decision that fits my, like, how do I express my boundaries and like all that, and like make a decision that makes sense for me when like sometimes other people's emotions, sometimes they go against it, sometimes they don't. But like, for example, I'm never not considering things like that. It like feels like scratching my head or something. Like, that's like a weird metaphor, but I feel like I feel people like scratching like on me, like waiting on me, like all the time. You know, like, so it can make me dependable and reliable to other people, but sometimes other people's emotions are not necessarily, like, I don't need to prioritize them above my own. Like, for example, with this guy, I said, I'll let me check my schedule, I'll email you when I can, something. So it's like, I don't know, but like I can tell the difference sometimes, and I don't know if this is NI, and I feel like you will understand, so I feel safe saying this. This might sound a little woo-woo, but it's like I can tell the difference between if someone's putting pressure on it or not. I can tell if someone's not really waiting or if they're waiting. Like, it's not like I'm just assuming. Like, the sensory data might be the exact same, but it feels different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think that is Effie, you're right. There's this tweet I mentioned before that, like, Fe, it knows like the social ecosystem and as a system with intricacies. So it knows like this specific person might actually need more attending to, and this one might need less, because it understands the needs around it in a very like complex way, actually.
Yeah, so like, it's not, you can't really place a one-size-fits-all rule on it. Like, you can't say every time someone double texts you, that means that they are, you know, waiting on you and upset with you. Like, because that's not how it is. You have to feel into the person, into the situation. But yeah, and I feel like so, like, there have been times when I've been stressed or anxious about something, especially when I was younger, and I would be like, why is that? And when I would introspect, I would realize that I actually wasn't anxious. I was just feeling someone else's anxiety. That's like really weird. And I know if you aren't an FE Dom, or if you aren't an NF, that might just sound really weird, like that I'm being dramatic, but that really is how it feels.
Yeah, because it's like you have such a instinct for people. Like, it's like almost an understanding, an inner like discernment of the emotions around you. It's like, yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. So it even causes you to react because you know, so like the outside emotion. Yeah.
Like, I was even like, I feel like you would relate to this too, but I was talking to a friend the other day. I was like, sometimes I feel so invasive just because of what I know about someone just from talking to them. I'm like, I don't mean to. Like, even just like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I feel like I know people's emotions that they don't want me to know. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wisdom. Effie also has a wisdom to it. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's an NI as well, but it's,
yeah, this might pivot I'm just sort of like wanting to really get into this. Yeah.
I find with Fe, it kind of like sorry, I'm looking at my notes in case we run out of so I noticed with Fe DOMs, like, they want to make sure that their emotional impact translates to the other person, that the other person like knows beyond a doubt that they matter to them, in the sense that like it's all about like translating emotional value to other people. I think that's a part of it.
Yeah. And I believe that you've even said something like this to me before about how Fe like communicates the emotional messages. So actually, this is interesting. There was a disagreement I had with an ENFP recently where they just told me a fact of something that happened and then kind of paused and like wanted me to say something, and only to find out later that they were really emotional about something, but I didn't click like with what they would be emotional about because they didn't tell me what they were emotional about. They told me what happened, but if the thing would have happened to me, it wouldn't have made me emotional. And so like I like was kind of expecting them to like explain like why that made them emotional. But whenever I said, well, why does that bother you? They took that as me judging them for being bothered. So that was just like a little mini misunderstanding. But like I was realizing through that, I was like, oh, okay, like I literally get confused when FI doesn't explain. Like I'm not trying to dismiss, I'm not trying to stomp on it. I don't even know what is happening. Like I get so confused. So
that is like so true. It's almost like
yeah.
FE wants to spell out emotions to provide clarity, so then we can all work interdependently. So, yeah.
Yes. And speaking of the interdependence, I was thinking about this recently, but I was realizing that how FE and TI are so intimately connected is that if in order to live your truth, be the best you could be, you literally need other people. Because like for example, like let's say you want to write a book, Joyce. Do you have time to sew your own clothes? Do you have time to make your own, like go to the farm and like get your food? Do you have time to build a car? I mean, like there's like I don't know, do you know how to fix a car? There's everything. And I know that this sounds cheesy to say, but I think that a lot of people take it for granted that like it's this sort of interdependent social fabric that allows you to actually be truthful to you. So like if you're a strong TI user listening, like if you're an INTP or an ISTP, perhaps you want to read a book all day. How are you going to do that? How are you going to stay alive? Like there has to be this sort of social fabric that allows you to. And like that's how we do that as FE people.
That was really well said. It's like, since FE is a judging function, I think it like has an ideal scenario where everyone is meeting each other's needs.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I do this, then this would meet this person's need, and then needs wouldn't have to go unmet if a certain way would go. And it's like it maybe like FE is this sort of ideal of interdependence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we are a social species. Some people like to forget that, but like we as humans compared to most species, we like need to be cared for by our families for far longer than most species. Like we are not like quite adult. I mean, like if you look at the state of the millennials in a lot of Western society, a lot of us literally can't even afford to do things still. So it's like, what? Like we haven't, a lot of us like, sorry, I know you want to be independent and it's great. Like I want to be independent too, but how are you going to get to? Like, that's kind of how I am. Like, I really am an independent person. I want to do my own thing, but I also have to like kind of make agreements with the people around me in order to allow me to do my own thing. So I don't know.
That's so interesting. Yeah. So FE has a small component of emotional agreements, in the sense of like, if you do this emotional agreement, it'll lead to a better long-term emotional outcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it seems like FE, it has this unspoken like way, the best emotional path forward. It's general and it's broad stroke, and it kind of is more of a one side, not one size fits all, but it will pick a solution because it wants to become actionable. And one of the differences between FI and FE is like FE has a slant towards action. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, the reason why I started working with my ENFJ business partner is that she does graphic design and I don't know how to do graphic design. So as opposed to both of us being friends, doing our own thing, like she tries to get graphic design clients, I try and get content clients. What if those clients need both? Like, why would we not just work together? Like that was like an obvious for us. It's like most people, if they need this service, they also need this. So why wouldn't we just do it together? Like it started with something very innocent of like, we should just refer each other. And the more we talked about it, we were like, it actually makes sense to just make the offering be together, because then it's just one price. It's easier for them. So it's like we aren't only thinking about what's easier for us, we're also thinking about what's easier for them. And it also came from me being like, I'm sick of having to manage all of these different things and like have to explain to people that they need to hire a graphic designer, because then it's like that just is too much energy for me. So I mean, that's kind of just an example. Anyone could have come up with that conclusion, but I hope you can see like how my FE came to it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like you consider needs of people like very thoroughly. I feel like FE is really good at thoroughly considering like the needs around them.
Yeah.
I kind of think that FE has a small utilitarianness to it too, because it's like the greatest good for the greatest amount of people, or for the people who need it most during the scenario.
Yeah.
So it's like it knows how to prioritize emotions. So it's
yeah.
yeah.
And whenever I first learned about utilitarianism when I was in college, I thought that was just the correct one. Like, I was so confused. Like, it's funny, like the classic like trolley problem. Sorry, I almost said program. I used to think it was such an obvious thing. I'm like, well, obviously you would make sure that less people die. But like the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can totally see why this is like actually a moral issue. And like, but yeah, that was like when I was like 18 and I first learned about it, that was my first instinct, was to just kill less people.
Yeah, it makes sense. That is a good example.
Yeah.
It's like FE is like, what is the best for the emotions of all involved? It's very responsible type of function, even if it doesn't mean, like it has this type of collective responsibility or collective consideration to it, because it's like, well, how can I consider everyone? Like, how can I consider humanity, like, or like the thing around me, like the humans around me, in the best way possible?
I'll say too that like no matter how benevolent or moral an FE person is, they're definitely aware that other people are around. Like, we're definitely aware that we live in a society and that all these things impact us. So like a really unhealthy EFJ, for example, might just feel like they're surrounded by idiots or that they hate being on Earth and then like F everyone. Like, that is true. That is also FE for that scenario, because they're still just aware of all of the ways that everybody is interacting with them still, you know. So
Yeah, it's like a social awareness of the sphere around you, like the emotional climate and what's going on, the emotional temperature, or like it's just like, and then yeah, you're right.
I do think though that healthier versions of FE starts to realize that, like, you know, what they feel is going to impact everyone, and you know that you can transform your emotions in order to make things better. But I also think on some end, like, very salty FE can be like, well, why should I try if they don't care about me? I don't know. I've seen that before.
Yeah, my close ENFJ friend, she goes a mile for other people, and she's like, jaded. You mentioned this concept before, Megan, about ENFJs being jaded, and my friend is jaded from giving and then not receiving her own needs, and
yeah, seriously, like that has been it takes an active effort on my part to not be jaded. Like, I have to try so hard to prevent it, because things happen that break my heart every day, and I have to just, I don't know, like, it's like my own values and my own philosophy and sense of truth, or whatever you want to call it, like who I am, believes that I should put my heart back together again every day. But not all FE dumps are gonna do that. I mean, they're gonna have to feel like it's worth it, you know. And so I mean, that's actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to start my channel, is to encourage, you know, ENFJs in particular, that they can be themselves in this society, even if they don't feel like they fit in. Sorry. It makes me sad even to think about your friend, because like I understand completely why any ENFJ would get really jaded, especially if it seems like the system is so broken that whatever you do, it doesn't matter. And like if an ENFJ doesn't feel like they matter, then what? Like, or if they don't feel like it matters, then they might not do anything. So like I don't know.
It's so true, and it's like the world needs ENFJs to keep their heart from not being iced over. But it's hard when the world is constantly like hurling spears at you or just ignoring your needs and their it's hard because ENFJs in their relationships sometimes they give so much to people who don't deserve it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something where I think in developing inferior TI in whatever way, integrating that into your psyche, it can help you with that. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I totally agree, 100%. Another element of Effie I'm thinking about right now is like emotional influence. Like Effie likes to influence, and I feel like it's one of the core differences between FI and FE in my opinion, because FI kind of want to like introverted feeling. It wants to maintain its autonomy, while like FE is more okay with the emotional influencing component of it. So extroverted feeling likes the influencing component.
So I do like influencing, but I also sometimes won't say something because I'm afraid I will influence something. Like I'm still very aware of the influence piece of the fact that emotions and people do influence each other. And so sometimes it's like if I'm very emotional, I like will choose to like not go hang out with friends or something because I'm afraid of influencing them, which can be kind of a problem because ENFJs in particular need to learn that, you know, if they really are your friends, then they want you to be able to open up to them. But sometimes I like so don't want to ruin the mood that I just stay home. Like if I'm in a really bad mood, I probably will just try and deal with it myself because I don't want to influence anyone. Or like, I don't know. I feel like I have to be totally on at all times when I'm talking with people, which is really annoying. But it's like I'm afraid of influencing them in a bad way. And also like if I had a bad day or I'm going through something, like I don't want to bring that out on them. Like sometimes I hear people be like, oh, they might have been rude, but you never know. They might be going through a bad day or they might be having a bad day. And like, that's not an excuse for me at all. Like, I'm not going to be rude to you, even if I'm going through a bad day or a bad time. So, yeah. Everyone's going through a bad time sometimes. So, I don't know.
Yeah, the FE power is strong. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, so I feel like FE users, they try to like influence emotion to create a better interdependence.
Yes.
And I feel like everything leads back to that interdependence because
so
it's how.
Or go ahead.
Oh yeah, continue again.
I just was going to give an example actually of that, you know, right when an election's about to happen, I tend to be very vocal of like, vote. And sometimes people are like, is that really going to change anything? But like, I feel like it might. And so I will. But then like, whenever the election happens, I'm also not the type to complain all the time. Because what's that going to do? Like, I like if something could influence, then it's like, I'm more likely to want to express it. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, like, I know the word system sounds more thinkery, but I think about it more in the terms of judges being able to comprehend outcomes, repercussions, and consequences. So because they can tell apart like consequences, it gives them like a sense of urgent or responsibility to create a system with the best consequences or with the best outcomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that actually recently, that I feel like what I feel responsible for is the outcome. I don't really care how it gets there at times, as long as the outcome is good. Like, and I know that sounds kind of vague, but yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I've said that before to one of my perceiver friends, and they took it as like, oh, you don't care about the means. But it's kind of like this.
Yeah.
If the means were important, then they would be included in the outcome. But if they don't affect the outcome, like if the means is just a temporary thing and it doesn't care, like linger on to the outcome, then it means that it wasn't that like bad. Like it means that the outcome, does that make sense?
No, it does. Like, yeah, I was actually just thinking about that too recently, about how it's not like EJs or like extroverted judging is trying to say that the ends justify the means, but it's like, for example, it's almost easier to explain from a TE perspective. I don't know why, but it's like, okay, your car's broken, fix it. It needs to work. Does it work? Yes. Great. If it doesn't work, fix it. Like, it's not like they're like saying like the TI of like, oh, well, you need to do this and then this and this. They just do whatever you need to do so that the car runs. So it's like, that's how I feel, but like about emotions. It's like, do what you need to do so that this result is happening. And, you know, I could use my TI principles to get there, but like, I don't like, and if I don't achieve the result, then it doesn't seem like my effort was worth anything. So, like, for example, and it totally depends on like it totally depends on my mindset and how I feel at the time. But like, for example, let's say I try really hard to make a community feel good. And then like, if there is still conflict, then I feel like even if I did my part or did my best, that doesn't really matter. Like, what matters is that there's conflict and that I don't want there to be conflict. So I'm going to keep going until there's some sort of understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like Effie understands emotional outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this immense, I don't know, discernment of emotional outcome. Yeah, and that's where all its actions like try to promote the best emotional outcome. And it's like, yeah.
And I want to say too that some people might be thinking like, okay, so if you want like this set outcome, like, are you trying to force us to not be individuals and to like all have the same feeling? Like, that's completely not true. Like, part of FE is allowing everyone to sort of have their own emotions. So I was thinking about this recently too, is I feel like it almost feels like getting in position or getting in formation so that it's like some people are easier to love from afar, like really, really far away. Some people you get to love up close. Some people it's like it's just a business encounter and that's all, or else there's going to be conflict. It's like you have to know like who people are to you and like what role they play in your life, and like encourage people to get in their roles, because the thing is that you're not going to be BFF with everyone. Not everybody's going to agree all the time, but if you can maintain, I guess, harmony, or like if you can maintain a sense of peace about the situation. It's so hard to find a good word because I have criticisms about all the words.
Yeah.
But
like no word is perfect, but it's almost like which one provides the least amount of unnecessary backlash emotionally. It's like, is this like unnecessary like badness? It's like,
yeah. So like, for example, like maybe if there's someone who views type completely different than me and they think that what I'm doing is like wrong or unethical or something, like I would prefer, like, we either could talk out the philosophical difference kindly and like find some sort of consensus, or we can just accept each other's autonomy and leave each other alone. or like you can think of that with like politics, for example. Like I always want to be respectful to everyone, even if I think that what they believe is like fucked up. Even like I don't know. Sorry if I cussed on your channel. Sorry for cussing on your channel. Yeah, like even if I literally everything I stand for is completely against them, all that tells me is, okay, then we need to leave each other alone. Like, you know, like you have your own journey. Like, don't try and change me. Like, accept my, like, respect my autonomy and free will. You know, it's like I'll respect yours. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the best case scenario. I don't know why, but like FE always makes me think about it. It wants to make like a case better, in the sense that like it has like like I know vision is associated with NI, but like FE always comes with SI or NI, in the sense that it's kind of like it has an understanding of like because SI and NI have a structural component to it. Like Lenore talks about how they're kind of left brain functions, and they kind of understand things in a orderly, like not in an orderly way, but it's almost like, what is the best way to organize this? Because like FE is like organizing, but like it's like, how can I organize emotional spectrum in the best way? Like if possible, or like but it's also like about emotional results too. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
all
No,
the topics.
you're right. And I think that ESFJs care about emotional results just as much. Like for example, like my mom's an ESFJ, and she called me a few months ago because like something was changing, and I don't even remember any of the SI details. There was something like, hey, like because of your age, you're able to add on more life insurance, and I still have this under my name or something. Do you want more life insurance? Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to get it for like 5 years. And so if you die, then blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. I said something like, I don't plan on dying within 5 years. And she was like, I know nobody does, or something. You have to think about these things. You have to think about, you know, the what ifs. And like, so it's like, she's not thinking about a vision, but she is. I mean, even like, okay, here's actually a good example. My ESFJ grandma died of cancer, and she paid for her own funeral before she died because she didn't want anyone to worry about her funeral expense. Like, what? Like,
Oh,
I know, right? Like, sorry, like, not to make everyone cry here, but like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a cliche thing, but like SFJs, they'll like plan for their funeral way ahead or something. Like they're still thinking about things way ahead. It's just not like a vision. I don't know.
yeah, it's like they want to take care of it, so you don't have to take care of it, even if it's their death. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Or like, wow, your family's like mostly FE doms.
Yeah, like even actually, this is kind of related too, is that my mom recently cleaned out like all of everything. Like she saved all of my toys just in case like I had kids and I would want to give my toys to them so that they can have the experience of playing with my toys. Like she saved way too much. And so she was like, I need you to come over here and clean out all the stuff because I don't want to forget, because one day I'm going to die and you're going to have to clean out all this. You need to just do it casually, or where it's like, we need to do it like incrementally. Like, so like that's like the sort of thing that she's also at Enneagram 6, but like, it's like, I wouldn't have thought of that really, but she's thinking like, I don't want you guys to have to clean out this entire house like later. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it seems like FE sometimes has a reflexive element. So it's like automatically, reflexively cleaning the house for you, and it's like paying for their own funeral, like you said. that is like really loving. Like FE it wins a prize for, I don't know, being reflexively loving.
Yeah, and like it's so interesting to even unpack because my mom's an ESFJ, my dad's an ENFJ. And so like I so just was raised with this that I kind of take it even for granted sometimes that I like obviously I have other like I talk to mostly non-FJs in general. I have more FJs in my life now actually now that I think about it. But anyway, like I don't know. Like even okay, actually just another example too, like my dad as an ENFJ, something he always would say too, just on the topic of funerals, is like you have to remember that funerals he would always say like it's just a reminder to spend time with family at that time. Like you have to just appreciate the now. Like you can't be I can't remember actually what I was trying to say. But like I would be I guess preached at with things from my parents of like remember this is how you should handle the situation, like things like that, like putting it into perspective. Or like oh wait no, it was something like I can't remember actually.
Yeah, and it's like your dad's like, okay, someone died. How can I use this to create a philosophy about better emotional outcomes? So he uses it like for Effie. It's like this death can inspire us to have better emotional outcomes.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this might just bring the family together. This might do this or that, or like, oh, it's a time to celebrate, or like, you know, things like that. Like, it's not, and especially with like a family of all FJs, for something like that, it's not, I guess, grieving. A family of grieving FJs is them spending a lot of fucking time together, a lot of time hugging, a lot of time saying I love you. It's not everyone in their rooms pouting. It is let's watch a movie, you know, like
yeah, it's almost like you guys emotionally transform together. It's like
yes
yeah
yes.
It's like let's all get together and influence each other's emotions and transform it. And it seems like FE knows that healing there's an interdependent element to the best outcome. Or I don't even know how to
And another thing too I've noticed is that FJs seem to be more emotionally prepared when something happens. Mm-hmm. Like, not always, but like, I don't know that certain people are gonna die. It's like, I know certain things might happen. Like, I'm already like trying to aim for the best outcome. So like, if it doesn't happen, I'm kind of still like aware of like what could have happened. Where sometimes it seems like FPs as perceivers, they're kind of just going with like the moment, like being really adaptable, where something might come along and like trigger them, and then they need to process it right there. Where like I feel like I'm like aware of the things that might hurt me or might make me happy, and I'm like trying to do something to avoid the negative. I don't know.
Yeah, like my FP friend tells me that she doesn't know what she'll feel until the situation happens. So you have to wait until it comes for her to gutturally get a sense of how she feels about it. So like it's like they figure out what matters as the situation is arriving. Because like Lenore compares perceivers to like surfers on waves. So the FP is waiting for that wave to come so they can understand their emotions more fully. But like the FJ has more of a long-termness to it. Like the FE user, extroverted feeler, has more of a long-term idea of feelings. And I think that they carry a lot of generalized like TI principles of how they would react under certain situations.
Yes, absolutely. And like, if I know that something is going to happen or very likely, then I will probably start processing early before it happens. Like, honestly, like with a breakup, for example, I like tried to process like how I might feel if we were going to break up, like before we broke up. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense at all? Like,
yeah,
I want to feel emotionally ready for situations.
It's like emotional planning.
Yeah, it really is. Like, if you think of like ETJs as being really good at getting things done no matter what, it's like that's kind of why how I was saying I feel the need to always be on. It's because I want to manage my emotions so that I can, you know, be on with like my best foot forward, like with everything. And it's insane. Like I don't ever let myself not have my best foot forward. Like,
Yeah, that is such like a EFJ philosophy, best foot forward.
yeah. Like something my mom always told me too was like, you need to be the bigger person and stuff. Like she always said that. And like, for example, like I would always sign up for sports just because I wanted to try, or my friends were in it, and I always found out I hated it and I would always want to quit. And she would say like, you can't quit, like you committed to this, like your team is counting on you, like you shouldn't make commitments unless you want to follow through on them, because it's going to impact others. And like she would say like to be the bigger person and try and make the most of it, like even if I didn't like it, and just take it as a learning experience or something.
Yeah.
You quit when the season's over, but you can't quit on a team when you committed to them.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like FE is aware of its impact on reality. So it's like, how can I have the best impact on reality that I can, given that I know that there is an impact?
And it's interesting because like I think that we might think of SE as the function that's impact on reality, but I think that both FE and TE, they are extroverted, that like no matter what, how you perceive, it's still going to impact the external reality. And like no matter what like type you are, I guess.
Yeah. But that's really beautiful about Effie. Yeah, Effie has a lot of beauty to it, in its ability to discern its emotional ramifications on everything, or even like it's so. Yeah, I just love Effie. Effie, like I just want to give it like the podium, the spotlight today. Like yes, Effie.
Yeah, because I do feel like um I think that I can seem naive if someone doesn't really know me. Um, and that hurts because I do a lot of work. Like I said, I feel like my heart's broken like every day by something because I'm so freaking sensitive. But
Mhm.
it's like I have to put it back together again if I want to be able to receive joy. I have to, or else I won't be able to experience the joy of life. So that's why I do. It's not because I haven't experienced darkness, you know? It's not because I'm lying. I don't know. It's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so amazing. Like when you said like this, the reason why this, and then like there's a ripple effect in your explanation. Like when I was tracking it, you're like, this leads to this, and that's why this. So that's why like I say FE has a rippley component to it, because it's not just it's not an in the moment just the thing, but it's like this. It's like this even like complete understanding without even knowing it. But like you know it, but sometimes like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like when Effie gives people benefit of the doubt, they do it because they know it results in a better emotional outcome. And they have like sometimes I need to give space for that emotional outcome to be like to be a reality. And so I benefit of the doubt makes sense. So there's
Yeah.
this.
And it doesn't mean you actually believe it, like, at all. Like,
Yeah.
I had an encounter recently with someone who was very assumptive and aggressive toward, you know, a close friend of mine. And honestly, they sound really jealous and rude. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because that's the only way to make a connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, if I'm mad that they were assuming about me, why should I assume back? You
Mm-hmm.
know? So it's like, that's like what I mean by like trying to be the bigger person. Like, okay, I think that this person's being kind of an asshole. How am I going to approach that? Like, uh, if I like act like you're an asshole, then like that's not going to help anything. Like, because why are they acting that way? And I think that sometimes if you don't understand like what FE is doing, it could seem like it could maybe even seem condescending by accident, or like holier than thou, or like like with this situation, for example, if I think that someone is being really assumptive and rude, I'm gonna be nice to them anyway, so is that fake? Like maybe someone with stronger TI wouldn't be able to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess like to the FE user, it's not fake. It's just that fostering connection has a higher priority than your immediate like tell them like the curse words, like it's just FE is prioritizing that connection. It's prioritizing interdependence, but it's authentic while still doing that.
Yeah, and like, I think that I know that whenever I have a gut reaction towards something, that I might not have all the information. So it's like I'll want to like have the connection so that I can get all the information. Because if there is no connection, there's no way for the information between the two of you to even transfer, right? So maybe I think one thing about someone and they think something about me, but without the connection, there's no way to even prove ourselves wrong. So it's like, to enter that connection, I'm allowing myself to be proved wrong. And I'm also hoping that they are willing to be humble enough if they were wrong about me. But it takes two to do that. And if they're being assumptive and rude about me, and if I think, oh, they're just being jealous, and if I like cut off connection, then we're both probably wrong about each other. And then what? Like, I don't know.
That's true. It's like then the emotional outcomes will just spiral downwards if everyone did that. And that was beautifully said. Thank you so much, Meghan, like for coming on my channel. I highly recommend Meghan's mentorship services. I was one of the people she mentored, and she did such a good job. Like as an INFJ, I feel not understood by people. But when Meghan listened to me, like she so seamlessly, effortlessly, and like with ease understood me. Like it was like cutting knife with butter. It was like so her mentorship services like showed me how easy it was for like an ENFJ, like a fellow NF, to understand me. And I was like, it really helped. So yeah, that's my testimony for Meghan's services.
So much to me, seriously. Like I loved listening to you. You're so easy to talk to, and I'm so grateful to be on your channel. So
I'm just happy that we had a chance to talk and to be friends, and I hope that we're friends for years to come. You're an awesome person.
Gosh, thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you for allowing me to talk about FE on your channel.
Yeah, awesome. So if you guys like this video, feel free to like and subscribe both our channels. Meghan has a channel, it's her name, Meghan LeVota. And and my channel if you like. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.
Bye.